Alright, so this is it. Sorry about the long wait, but here's our video on two papaya varieties that we're selling. We've got the Sunrise and the Red Lady. They're both dwarf varieties, but the fruit are large. So here it is, let's go. G'day, it's Sam King here from KingAgricultural, and check this out. Some really cool papaya. These are commercial stock papaya. They are nothing like what you'll be able to achieve if you go to the shops and grab a seed out of something, pop it in the ground, or even just go to some random seed company that sells seeds of things and they're selling a seed packet of 5 or 50 or 120 or whatever. This is something that's completely different. This comes from commercial stock from an international seed company that is known and respected and relied upon for seed source that contributes to large plantations. There we are, and there's two different varieties. We've got Sunrise and we've got the Red Lady. That doesn't mean to say that a Red Lady that you see from somewhere else will be the same as these ones, because again, these ones are the best selection for commercial growth and to produce the absolute best results. One thing to be mindful of is just so that you can appreciate the difference that, okay, you might have been able, or you know somebody who's been able to grow papaya from seed before, and you know the thing is this high, or it might have rocketed right up to 3 meters or something, and you might have some fruit off it. And those seeds that you've got, they may have come from a commercially grown one, and the parent that it came from, it might have been absolutely stacked, and you don't quite get the same sort of result as that, and there are good reasons for that. There's a very difficult and complicated science that goes into the selection of seeds, and selection of parent trees, so that the seeds that come from, you know, the male and female of this, that they're going to contribute towards a seed that's sourced so that they can provide commercial grown operations with seed that produces reliable plants like that are of a uniform size and perform in a uniform way. So yeah, it's around about 3.5–4 months from seed to here, but these are at the stage now when they're absolutely skyrocketing. If you look at the size here, this ad here I put into Trade Me, that was only a week and a half, 2 weeks ago I think, and look, they were probably about here, and look at how they've gone just in a couple of weeks, and they're just starting to absolutely motor. Remembering also that when you open up a papaya, you've got male or female seeds, and the males don't come to anything, they don't fruit. But with these ones, they're guaranteed all of them are either female or they're bisexual, which means that they'll still be able to pollinate. The females will produce fruit, and the bisexual ones, well, they can go and fuck themselves basically, and they will pollinate as well. Yes, you can produce a good amount of fruit just with one of these. You don't need another one to pollinate. However, by having more than one, so 2, 3 or more, you'll get more pollination. So say for example, if how you're growing yours, you've got this much fruit, then maybe with an extra additional pollinator you might get some more fruit out of it. But you certainly can, because maybe you're restricted in space or whatever, something else. You can certainly grow one of these and get some fruit out of it if you just apply a few basic rules in how to look after the thing. What's just doing something, left this thing here. It certainly wasn't me, but just you might as well have a look at it while you're here. Look at this. This is a twin beak thing. It's got 2 different beaks, and that hits the ground there. Push that down into soft soil. That goes like that, and one seed comes out, because you've got seeds on this side and you've got fertiliser on this side. Good thing is that you can do it quickly and without bending your back. So it's really good for just home owners, and you've got a bit of cultivated, chopped up garden there, and you just go along, bang, like that. even, you know, some senior citizens come to visit you, say, well, can you go for a walk along here, and here's a bit of a, like that's going to help you walk. And the way they walk, and they've planted some seed and done something useful for the afternoon for 5 minutes. But still, if you want to commercially put down you know, a few rows like that, you can do them pretty quick. This one is different. Oh, they'll handle seeds from about 3 millimeters upwards, but they'll do the big seeds really well, like corn and beans and peas and stuff like that, whereas some seeding machines find it difficult. And also, while I'm on other stuff, this one here is even used by commercial people. So it's a transplanter. You poke that into the ground, and then you release that and lift it up, and you've got that that's bedded and planted in. And it takes no time to get the hang of it, and you away you go like that, one every second, and before you know it, you've planted out something. Back to this, the best time to plant them is right now, so that they get that good growth. They start whacking up like this and bushing out on your property. And the expected thing is that if you're looking after it fairly well, you've got fairly good conditions, it should be about 4 or 5 months before you get the flowers coming out, and then from that point another about 4 or 5 months, and then you should be seeing, you know, your first papayas you want to pick. Two different varieties. This is the Sunrise, and then over there is the Red Lady, although when they're at about this sort of size they look quite similar. What's the good part about the Sunrise one? Well, they're more of the kind of shape and size that most people think of as being a papaya, that papaya kind of colour, and cut them open, and they're sort of quite orangey, but very nice flavour and very sweet as well, especially compared to the ones in the shop, because they've been grown in the country, picked green, and they're not tree ripened. So these ones that you get, not only is the flavour great for a start, but just the fact that you've been able to tree ripen them, and you know, you can sort of go along and sort of wiggle it like this, and if it comes off in your hand, you know, it's just about ready to eat. But you know, if you want to eat one right that second, you can just go around and just sort of tap one, or look at it, and when and have your hand underneath to catch it, that's just absolutely optimum, and you'll get a completely different flavour, way better than anything that you've purchased from a shop before. Having said that, quite often, out of a bunch of fruit, whole lot of fruit like this, quite often the first 1, 2 or 3 in a season might be a little bit, the flavour's not quite there, maybe the sweetness is not quite there yet, but after the first 2 or 3 fruit, then you're getting into the real good stuff. There is this slightly bitter kind of funny taste that comes with people associate with papaya, and that's the papain in it. It's an enzyme, and that's one of the reasons why people use papaya to go in with meat to tenderise it. And that papain is a sort of a bittery kind of slightly strange flavour profile that's added to the papaya profile, taste profile, that some people don't like, and that papain. But that mostly comes from the fact that your papaya that you're buying from the shop hasn't been tree ripened, and so these ones here, you won't get that. You'll just get a really nice papaya, sweet flavour. Oh yeah, and then there's the Red Lady, which is even better for New Zealand because they're even a bit more weather tolerant to our conditions. They can handle a little bit cooler than the other one. So if you're not too confident in growing something new like this, and especially if you think your area, the cold might prove a little bit challenging, then the Red Lady is a bit more hardy, so that will be the one to go with. But if the question is which one should you get, the answer is yes. Get 1 or 2 or more of both, and see how well you go. The Red Lady is a lot bigger, so you can get them sort of up to about 2 kilos, so they say, but I've seen them growing a lot bigger. I've seen ones in New Zealand growing right up to the size and similar to the shape of a rugby ball, and some of them are sort of quite oval, but others they can be quite rectangular, that we're starting off sort of almost squarish like this, you know, and then coming around. So there's, you know, you can get some pretty big ones, impressive ones out there, and some people absolutely love the colour too, that really dark red, sort of like a scarlet red flesh, and it looks really cool and impressive in dishes. Now, of course, these ones here are really good because they are a dwarf variety, so that means you can just go and pick the things, and they might start from down about here, a couple of feet off the ground, and they might go to about here, and that's the top of the tree, and that's about it. Occasionally you'll get one that will grow a little bit taller, depending on the time of the year that it's planted into the ground. But these are at the absolutely best time to grow them now, put them in the ground, and these ones are outside. We started them off in the greenhouse because that's just the best way to start them, so they're motoring off like that. But what we do is we take them outside so they get to acclimatise to the same kind of weather that you have. And although we're in Kaitaira here, if you look at the weather temperatures and patterns, we're pretty much getting the same weather as what you are, whether you're in Gisborne or Wellington or somewhere else. We don't have the hottest day every day. We seldom have the hottest day in summer. But yeah, so we have the same conditions as most of you. The best time is to put them in the ground is right now, but then between now and a month or two away, when maybe the weather might start to change and go a bit colder, then depending on where you are and how challenging your weather might be, you've got a bit of time to prepare for that. Now, if you are in somewhere like Auckland or Bay of Plenty, and you don't have, in your particular area or your particular section, you don't have any frosts, or very seldom have frosts, and it doesn't go down to very cold very often, then you're probably going to be okay to plant it outside. So then you've got that time to sort of work on how can I improve the conditions, because certainly you could plant it somewhere on your property, maybe close to a wall, close to something that has a bit of heat, and away from any sort of harsh wind conditions, but a bit of shelter on it. Then you're probably going to get something that's going to provide you a good tree and probably some fruit. But if you want to go even beyond that, then you're moving from not just how to make something survive, but how to make it absolutely thrive, and then that alters the outcome of whether you just get a few fruit like this, maybe 6 or 10 or 12 sticking out there like this, or whether it's absolutely stacked this way, or even right like that, just dozens and dozens of papaya up the thing, just like a commercial one, and you know how they're expected to grow. And then, you know, moving into like greenhouses and that sort of thing of various sizes. I'm going to do another video soon, and I really encourage you to have a look at it, because just about everybody has a battery drill of some kind, or they have a hammer, and they've been given, you know, somebody's given it to them for Mother's Day, Christmas, or Father's Day, or whatever. And so there's no reason why you can't make, in just a couple of hours, make some sort of a greenhouse that looks not too bad, but the looks is not important. It's just something that will hold the plastic on, and so you can turn this thing here and from a, you know, 4 or 17 fruit on it to something that produces heaps and heaps and heaps of fruit. And when you look at the value of one fruit, whether you consider that a big papaya like this is worth 10 or 20 or $30, just look at the value of it, you know. You can even make yourself some friends if you give one or two away, if you're that way inclined. And also for commercial greenhouses, people go out there and spend, even for a tiny one, they get $7,000, and then for a slightly bigger one, they're paying, you know, $20,000 and up to $100,000 more for a greenhouse. And it's absolutely unnecessary with materials that are available to you, and just by learning a couple of skills and techniques. Like for example, this one over here, I'll overlay it, there you go, like that. That one there, well, I've seen people with greenhouses of about the same size, and they've spent double, triple, like 7 times the amount that it cost me to build this one here. This one here is made out of thick galvanised pipe, and I got that cheap as, and worked out a way of bending it easily and cheaply, and there's a whole lot of different designs you can do using a few different skills. Okay, so who can grow these? Well, probably you. These have been specially selected so that they are good for New Zealand conditions. However, they're not going to grow absolutely everywhere. So if you know that you've got a place that's pretty cold, and if you get more than just 1 or 2 frosts, then you can probably only grow these if you have it in a greenhouse. Anywhere with a greenhouse, really. What you're trying to do is to increase your heat as much as possible, and have the least amount of really cold days as possible. Anywhere in the far north, you should be able to grow them outside. Some parts of the north you should be able to grow them outside too, but really it's just about if in an area, or maybe like over here where I am in the far north, maybe next door they get frosts, over here we don't. And in some parts of Bay of Plenty, or even Hawke's Bay or whatever, you should know that if you've got like a nice microclimate and not too much exposure to the elements and extra cold wind and that sort of thing, one big frost will come through and whack one of these right down. Just a very mild frost, you might be able to tolerate a couple, but you don't want too many of them. So choose wisely where you grow it, but there are some things you can do to improve the success so that you move further away from just surviving into the thriving zone. Most of you have got a battery drill or a hammer or something like that you've been given to for Mother's or Father's Day, and to go and buy some 6x1 or 3x1, that type of thing, is pretty cheap down your local hardware store, and it's very easy to just whack together some pieces and then put some plastic on it, and away you go like that. And I'll look at some designs of how you can sort of follow those designs or modify them to suit you, but really easy to do. You can whack up like a nice hut that might accommodate 2 or 4 or 6 of these or 12 of these in just a couple of hours sort of thing. Now, very important, let's talk about plastic. If you're going to make some sort of a shelter for these, whether it's just a small hut for one, or an enclosure, or a proper greenhouse, the kind of plastic is important. And people say you get what you pay for. Well, not necessarily. Sometimes you pay quite a bit and you get rubbish. So now I do sell plastic, and it's a high quality, and I like to keep the price down because I'm a grower too, and Ben tried into all that sort of stuff, and so we just know people wanting to get into these things without breaking the bank sort of thing. So we sell a really high quality plastic, and that is not too expensive at all. So in the video that we'll do, I'll sort of show a few different scenarios. So for example, if you've got an enclosure of this size, how much will the plastic cost for that one, this bigger one, and so on. But it should be pretty cheap. But very important that it's not just a clear plastic, but it's a high diffusion plastic. And the benefit of that is that, okay, see here, you've got the harsh sunlight like this, and then you've got that's all in shadow. But when you've got a high diffusion plastic, it improves that, because what it does is that the light scatters all over the place. When it enters the plastic, the light scatters all over the place, and so then you have less dark shade like that. And what that does is it helps give uniformity to the growth all around it, not just on the side that's closer to the sun, and also gives uniformity to the more light, to provide light for all of the flowers, not just the ones on this side. And the same thing with the fruit too, so it disperses the light, so you get uniformity and better growth all around. So it makes a big difference. It also has benefits to do with cutting down bugs and cutting down diseases and pests and things like that. Think, how does it do that? Well, there's other videos and data on plastic. If you look at the links, or look at our Trade Me listings on our high diffusion plastic. But yeah, so, and we might even set up some special deals where if you're buying some of these, you get a special deal on the plastic too. But honestly, like you've got your holidays, and if you buy, you know, 2 or 3 or 1 or 6 or 10 of these, and it would take only an afternoon to go down the road to Bunnings or Mitre 10 or something and get a few sticks of some kind of whip, a few screws, whack it together. I'll send you some plastic as well, cover it, and then, you know, you're on the way towards getting like a big stack of fruit like this on a pretty amazing papaya plant. I would also really like to hear from people considering growing these for commercial application, because, you know, that's what these are. These are commercial stock. It's a really good idea to at least start with like a test run now, and if you want to take, you know, maybe 10, 50, 100, 150 of these now, and we'll give it to you at a good rate, a start-up rate, if you're thinking of getting into just testing it to see how the run goes and how well it's received by people that you sell to and that sort of thing. But papaya is one of those really tropical fruits, and they go really good in restaurants, but especially if people have tasted them and know the difference of what it tastes like for a really good quality tree ripened papaya, tree ripened and hand picked from New Zealand. So that's about it, but we didn't get hold of, I normally try and get Ben into the video. Hey Ben!
Over here.
Oh, he is here. Oh, not too far away. Can you come in here for a tick? Just wait till he gets here. Oh, there you are. What have you been up to?
Oh yeah, just been tidying up the kitchen.
Oh, we're here and there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're hoping I'm going to cook some tea tonight? Normally, every time you see him, what he's been doing, it's always watering plants. So Ben's the brains behind BensGarden, and what we run here also is KingAgricultural. So Ben has been in with tropical fruits and rare fruits since right back to the first days of all of this in New Zealand. I think he started off about the same year as the first Star Wars movie, way back then, and but he still carries on his interest here. Most of the years you're doing stuff in Auckland, eh?
Yep.
So you've got a pretty good idea of the type of stuff that grows in Auckland and all sorts of parts of New Zealand, and I basically steal his intelligence, and he runs, you know, the gardens around here as his own interest, and then I basically steal his intelligence, and so we've got KingAgricultural operating, so but we benefit from his experience and knowledge on all of these things. So compare, like when you saw some of these things growing commercially, how much do you think that compared with other papayas you've seen growing in New Zealand?
Oh, it's a totally different kettle of fish. These things here, they just exceed. If I'd been told that it was in Fiji or something, that I was looking at these beautiful growing fruit trees, I would have thought, well,
It'll make more sense, wouldn't it?
It'd make a bit of sense, but
yeah.
it's due to the particular variety.
Yeah, it's all about the selection, isn't it? So, you know, so I think I might have mentioned earlier in that when I was doing the video thing, just the fact that, you know, like if you go on Google and you go papaya plantation, and you start to look at the pictures there, and you see, you know, uniform plants with uniform huge amounts of fruit all the way around them, and because big operations, there's big money and lots of people involved, and so they don't sort of muck around with poor source for seeds and that sort of thing. They only get involved in seed companies that produce seeds, that produce plants that have an absolute reliability. So yeah, I mean, you look on the internet and you'll see people in the Philippines and here and there and that, and they've got the most amazing climate and conditions, and still, you know, they might have 2 dozen fruit on it, but still nothing like the kind of results you can get from growing these in New Zealand if you put the best conditions with it. So Yep. What we're going to do is we're going to chuck some in the garden here, and maybe a couple against the house. So they're just growing on their own. We're going to stick 1 or 2 inside a bit of a small cage, see how they goes, and we'll also plant some of these out in the greenhouse as well, and just look at the different. Well, we pretty much know what the results are going to be, but it'll be good next year to show that to people. Oh, what about what? Because people want to know about straight away about watering these, eh? Like, how do you work out how much water they've got, whether you need to water them or not?
Well, with these plants, I've used a very special potting mix. It's got an extra amount of coarse pumice for free draining. So because of that, it's pretty hard to overwater them. So, so better than average. So,
yeah. But still, though, depending on what dirt you put around it, if you've got reasonable topsoil where you're planting it into, it's not a bad idea to get 1 or 2 or 3 bags of garden mix, or especially if it's one that's got a bit of light stuff through it, to add into that there. But you certainly don't want to overwater them, do you?
No. And
but what's overwatering though? Like if you poke your finger in it.
Soggy, yeah.
Okay, so that there.
That's moist.
That's sort of moist, but it's not wet at all.
Mm.
You can see that. We'll show you that in a bit more detail in one of the next videos when we make up one of these enclosures, and we'll look at what type of things you can use for fertilising that as well. Can you go and get the hose and show us how you'd water this lot here? You've already watered these lot, haven't you? Have you watered these today?
Yep.
Are they due for another water?
No, but it won't hurt them.
No, okay. So just so you get a rough idea of how much you'd water these things, because sometimes people water these things far too much. We're very fussy about soil that we use for potting these things. It's a 200-kilometre trip both ways to where we get our potting mix, because we just don't get it from anywhere.
It's your
we start with absolute quality source for whether it's cuttings or seeds or anything like that. We go for the absolute quality, and it really pisses us off when we see people on trade me just pushing any old rubbish and selling even like tiny little sprouts, expecting that, you know, it's not good for the industry.
Yeah, you'll see how I water these.
Yeah, put the water on the tree.
Because of the free draining mix, the water quickly goes in, so I water them from above and poke my thumb on the end, and that forces the water down. So that's all they need. And you can have a look afterwards to see if you've done it good enough, and you'll soon work out how long you need to water them for. Yeah, but it is pretty quick.
But just before that, you could poke and you could see it was slightly dark, so it wasn't that, you know, like really light, so like absolute parched sort of thing, but still it wasn't saturated either, so there you go. But yeah, grab yourself several, chuck them in, and away you go. But the main thing to be mindful of is that if you're going to be, if you've got any super seeds to be seeding, then these seeders supersede all other seeders. And with that, I think I'll turn the camera off before any other seedy characters turn up.